Back to Victoria now. The Liberal MP Moira Deeming will issue bankruptcy proceedings against John Pesutto this week, warning she won't be bullied out of recovering the debt. Joining us live now from Melbourne is the former Victorian Liberal leader, John Pesutto. John, it's good to have you with us this morning. Thanks for your company. So,
good to be back.
She says, going very well, thanks, but she says $2.4 million, that's the total sum owed to her. Will you pay it? Can you pay it?
Well, I'm working with a number of potential supporters to try and raise that money, and I'm hopeful. There are some hopeful signs that I can get there, and I do want to meet that debt that I owe Mrs Deeming, and I want to discharge the court's order. So I'm working very carefully to try and do that by the due date, and while also doing my job as the member for Hawthorn as a member of Brad Battin's team as well.
So you've got a safety net, so to speak, with millionaire backers, as Moira Deeming put it in a post last night.
I wouldn't say that, but Moira is a colleague of mine, and I very much want to work with all of my colleagues, including Moira, of course, because we've got a big job to do. As you've been reporting this morning, we've had a horror weekend of violence across our state. South Melbourne on Saturday and then Northland yesterday. We've got a budget that came down that's bad. So we've got a big job to do as an opposition, and I want to work with all of my colleagues, and I'm doing everything I possibly can to meet that debt that I do owe.
So will you have to declare bankruptcy, or are you not there yet?
Well, let's not think about that just for now, Pete. I think everybody who's familiar with the circumstances is aware of the different scenarios, but I just want to assure you and all of our viewers that I'm committed to doing my job. We've got a big job to do, and I want to remain the member for Hawthorn so I can continue doing that. That does mean, Pete, to be quite candid with all of our viewers, that I do have a job to do to raise that money, and I very much want to do that.
Okay, so there are a number of consequences here that I know you didn't want to talk about bankruptcy, but if it did go there, you'd have to declare it. Then you'd be ineligible to sit in Parliament. Therefore, a by-election would be called for Hawthorn. It is a marginal seat as well. I mean, there's a bit at stake here.
Pete, I think you're right, to be completely fair. It's not an unreasonable assessment you've given. And that's why I think it's really important that we remember, as an opposition, we have a job to do to provide good leadership to the state. We've got 16 seats to win at the next state election next November, Pete. Let's not make it 17, but I've got my job to do to try and obviously raise those funds. Yeah,
OK. So she said one more on this post. She says her goal isn't to bankrupt anyone, but to repay that huge debt that she incurred. She says fighting her name over heinous false accusations that you refuse to retract or apologise for. Have you got any kind of response to that?
Look, I don't wish to relitigate any issues. I think the Australian people saw the case unfold last year, and it's sort of come and gone. Now we've got to try and conclude it, and that's my job, to try and conclude it on that basis. But look, I've got colleagues that I want to work with, including Moira, to make sure we give good government next year to the Victorian people.
Can you work together? Can you work together after everything that's happened?
Absolutely, it's always, because there's a bigger job at play for all of us, and the Victorian people, for reasons you've been covering this morning and so many others over recent days, Pete, we've got a job to do and we've got a responsibility, and I'm absolutely up for working with all of my colleagues. In politics and in public life, there are disputes that emerge from time to time, and you've got to be able to work through them. I've been through that process, but I remain ready, willing and able always to work with all of my colleagues to make sure under Brad Battin's leadership we
Are you even getting her on the phone,
government.
though? Are you getting her on the phone and just chatting about things?
No, but I am working on what I need to do to discharge my debt to Mrs Deeming, and I very much want to do that, Pete. I know it's a steep hill to climb, but I am working as hard as I can. All
right, let's go to this announcement now. We just heard from Jacinda Allen. The sale of machetes will be banned in Victoria from Wednesday. That starts from midday. Do you support that or not?
Well, I'll let. We've been calling for bans for well over a year, Pete, and you might have recalled from last year we introduced private members' bills into the Parliament of Victoria, and the government refused. So we'll always have to look at the detail, and Brad and David Southwick, I'm sure, will be out today to say more about that. But we've been calling for strong action, and we saw over the weekend 2 incidents, one in South Melbourne and then the horrifying scenes yesterday in Northland Shopping Centre. No Victorian or anyone anywhere in the country should have to live with the risk of that happening in their own community. And for Premier Allen to come out today and announce these belatedly, what appears appears to be a consumer ban on the sale. Even if it is a step in the right direction, it's far too late. And when we look at the detail, like many other announcements they make, Pete, I'm sure it'll be short of what's actually required. Complete ban as soon as possible is what we've been calling for.
I guess, I mean, the only people, and I might be wrong here, but I know that in Queensland, particularly North Queensland, farmers use machetes, you know, to cut down cane and that kind of stuff. I mean, would there be much opposition coming from it in a state like Victoria?
Well, the sense I get, Peter, when I was leader and since, is that the community wants these banned. And I think there's a realisation that there can be legitimate uses, but no one's claiming that there are legitimate uses given what we've seen over recent weeks.